Okay. What's going on, party people? We've got Alana in the house. This is not Abigail.
Hey, this is not Abigail. She's okay and alive.
She's okay and alive.
But
oh my God, what are we doing?
But she's just a busy woman.
She's busy. Last week you got Abigail alone, which was super awkward. Shout out to her though, because I would never be able to do that.
No, you can't say that because Abigail's mom got mad at her for saying that.
No, she said it.
It was Abigail's so great episode.
Mad. Yeah, she got mad because she said this is such a bad episode, which it wasn't.
It was a good. Abigail got in the zone. I was like, oh, she's spitting bars.
Yeah, she did fine. I don't know what she was talking about. But her mom got mad because she said it was a bad episode, and it wasn't a bad episode. This is going to be a great episode. Good. It's just that if I was to do an episode by myself, you guys wouldn't even know what the fuck I was saying, because Abigail can speak in complete sentences. And like, I cannot.
I think I have like approximately half a brain. Tracy has maybe a fourth of one. And so I'm not going to say that this is going to be a great episode, because we have a lot of good things to talk about, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling the vibe will be a little bit different because Miss Crow is not here.
She's not here. So shout out to Abigail, though. She is here. She's at the gym. She's going to Tampa this weekend for her sister's birthday.
Being a working woman.
Yep.
On top of that schedule.
Yep. But we're going to talk to you guys about our ultra race because, dude, it's been actually like a long time since the ultra race.
It's been like a week and a half.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of like, okay, I texted Anthony, so I'll clarify who people are, because I remember Abigail always is like, yeah, and that person is this, because Tracy's just like, my friend Joey. Yeah. Anyway, what's it called? Anthony, he was one of the first guests on the podcast, kind of almost like, is one of the people we know that does ultra running and has a lot of experience with it.
Yeah.
I texted him like a week ago at this point, and I was like, yo, ultra marathon runner's high goes crazy,
dude.
That lasted like 3 or 4 days for me before I was like started on the come down, and then I had this like massive like
depressive
episode, which was not good. But we're in the clear now.
Yeah, like as soon as your adrenaline like finally crashes, you're like on this really weird spell of being like, okay, now what? And then like you just get super depressed for a day or two, and you're like, so now what do I do?
I make the comments like every now and then, just basically being like, running, I feel like it's only so healthy for you, because you get to the point where it's like everyone, you have this like runner's high, and then like, you get to the like I think it's a joke with a lot of like medical professionals that runners just have like this distorted pain tolerance.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, totally. My shin bones are all split in half right now, but I just hit a 15-mile run yesterday. But like, don't ever tell me to not run, because the answer will be no.
Like when I was explaining to my mom about it, and I was like, oh yeah, like on the first lap, like on one of the hills on the ultra loop, I tripped and I fell and I hit my face and I thought I broke my nose, and my mom was like, you do this shit for fun? And I was like, yeah, it was totally fine. Like, it was actually so much fun.
I think this will be a good segue into just like actually talking about it. But
yeah, we haven't talked about it in a minute. But I want to start off with like, okay, so Alana, Rich, and Denise and myself were the ones that ran.
All people on the Flocker team.
Yeah, on the Flocker team, the ones that ran the ultra. So shout out to all of them, because they're absolutely badasses and they put in mega work for this. But like, they kind of entrusted in me a little bit to like coach them, and I was also doing the work, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I was running with them during the week, but we had written a plan to be able to progress our mileage over a certain amount of time and then, taper off to be able to get into the race. So I wanted to like pick Alana's brain about like how she felt, if she was actually prepared or not for the race. Yeah. Right?
Which, just to go ahead and give an answer to that, the answer was 100% yes. Solid. Which is crazy to say, because again, like my running like journey, my Spartan journey, hybrid athlete journey really only started like
last year.
Yeah. Like there's a finite amount of months that I've been in this headspace, and I feel like even considering or knowing ultramarathons exist hasn't even happened for me for like, I would say, I think I only ever found out about an ultramarathon, that it was even a thing, like maybe a year ago. Yeah. Because I remember like I was sick and I watched this like documentary about like,
because you never really like tapped into that space, even like looking into it, right?
Like I if you go back and like listen to the episode that I was on a while ago, you can kind of hear about like my personal background.
Yeah.
a lot of laziness, a lot of not sports, being like no athleticism, just mac and cheese loving chubby middle schooler.
Mac and cheese, Lana.
Dude,
Lana Paguana.
I would
the
tear
mac
that
and
thing
cheese
up.
lady.
I can't eat mac and cheese anymore. Anyways. But yeah, so I think like, again, even just like putting this into a bigger perspective of like just how my journey with running has been, like it's really crazy and like really special to be able to say like I felt really prepared. Like one of my repeating thoughts that kind of were just like me being out there in the ultra brain, being out there in the thoughts was just like, yeah, I was ready for this.
That's awesome.
Which was just like something that I was just like, so that was what I was not prepared to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was so prepared to feel like trash. I was so prepared for it to be so hard. I was so prepared to be emotional and just to hate it almost. Like I kept telling people like these past couple days, like I went into the race expecting to be almost traumatized by it.
Yeah, no, me too.
Like, this might kill me.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like
I had like a 50-50 shot. That was my mentality.
like, yeah, this is either gonna suck or I honestly feel like maybe like there was like 1% in me that was like, yeah, like maybe I would do another one beforehand. I've said the comment to a lot of people like I probably wouldn't do one again, maybe like until the end of my undergrad, because I'm in college right now at FSU, or like I don't really know if this will be a one and done deal or not. Like I'm very unsure, kind of just shot in the dark, just gonna do an ultramarathon to check it off the bucket list, but.
That's awesome.
We both, I think.
Would there be anything that like you would change in your training? Like even like nutrition wise, like I kind of like did your running program, but we didn't like actually talk about nutrition. We talked about what to eat during the race and we tried out different things while we were training. I don't think I ever talked about that in the podcast ever, but basically like for a good couple weeks, like Alana tried baby food. We ate sweet potatoes. We tried different goos, like things that you would want to eat or not want to eat in the race. So that way we didn't get there day of and just be like, oh shit, what do we do?
I think the only thing that I would change if I could, and I really couldn't even change this because just to give a little bit of information about me and some context behind this answer, I'm currently like, this was my first semester being a personal trainer at the gym we work at. This was one of my harder semesters in college. Technically it's a pre-med major. It's exercise physiology at FSU. So I was kind of getting into like organic chemistry, like some higher level bios, like some harder classes. So I was balancing school, work, and then long distance running, which for those that don't know, it takes many hours of the day.
Well, it takes a lot of your time.
So I think if I could change anything, like mentally, it probably would have given me more confidence to have had a few more long runs under the belt, which we stuck with the 15, like 12, 15, 18. Those are all pretty comfortable distances, but the highest like mileage we got was 20.
Yeah.
And the race ended up being 33 for me.
Right.
So to say like, oh yeah, I felt prepared for that, mind blowing. Like I'm not going to say I felt good because again, there's times where I'm like, oh, everything hurts right now. But mentally it was good. Physically is a different story. We can break all down every joint, all the joint pain. But I think that's the only thing that would have been more beneficial for me because we were just talking about this like 30 seconds ago. My experience, I've done another 20-mile run before because I did a 19-mile trail race in Georgia back in December. So I've covered that distance before. It's just the farthest I've ever gone.
And it was also just a trail race.
Yeah, there was
this
no
one
obstacles.
that we did was there were 70 obstacles in total,
Spartan.
which was stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I would have just preferred to maybe have the training block be a little longer, which I don't know if that's even a healthy thing to do, but I think if we could have had more time.
Yeah. I also feel like you were just kind of stressed in total, like with school and beginning to be a trainer and just everything that was going on. It's almost like you could wish for less stress while putting stress on your body.
That's
which doesn't really make much sense.
No.
Like at all.
That's why I'm like, this is only so healthy for us. But it's awesome.
It's like running is the most unhealthy thing, like one of the most unhealthy diet, with restriction, but like it was so good. But I feel the same. I think even through any of the beasts that we've done or like trifecta weekends or like even the supers and sprints, I felt more prepared for this race than I have for any other race. And for me, that's really weird because so one of my best friends surprised me. Shout out to Joey. He surprised me and showed up at the race, and it's just funny because I was looking at him and the whole time I was thinking about this, every single time I would see him out on course, it's like this guy has only ever seen me run maybe 200 meters, like max. That's
insane.
what we did. We were jumpers. I was a jumper for a year. Like I never in my right mind would say that I would even run a mile. And then when I started doing all of this, now we're running like half marathons and yada, yada, whatever. And it's just become a part of like my process and growing. But doing an ultra, like more than 30 miles
is a next level.
Are you out of your fucking mind? I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So it was such a weird like experience for me because I felt so prepared.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why do I feel so good right now?
Yeah. I think that was the most shocking thing was feeling like prepared.
Yeah. By the way, feeling so good about it. We both blew it out of the park and got first place.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Shout out to both of us. And not even like got first place, but beat the people that we were competing against by like an hour.
Because there were some other people, dude. So shout out to the other chick my age out there. Because I mean, you did it.
Yeah,
she ended up completing it. But I thought at first she had DNF'd. I honestly don't even know who she is. But I went and checked the other day, and she ended up finishing. But so my time was like I think 9 hours and 20 minutes, like with the transition and everything. Hers was like 14 something.
Damn.
So she was like right at the cutoff. I would imagine. I think that was kind of around.
I think, it was 9:30, so it'd be about like 14 something hours.
But so I was glad to have someone else out there just because I was like, it wasn't just me in the age group, but yeah, dude, we won.
Yeah,
that
it was pretty
so
rad.
Cool.
It was pretty rad.
I was thinking today, I was like, I'm so grateful that this went well, just for how, which I mean, I want to hear, I guess, your experience with maybe anxiety or like nerves leading up to the race, because I honestly think like I was Mike, one of the OCR friends we have, he called me out for being like a nervous wreck. He was like, oh, one of these, and it's like one of his Instagram captions saying like he saw some friends out there who went from nervous wrecks to like podiuming, and I was like, I'm imagining you're talking about me, because I was like, when we went he was there at the packet sign up because he was volunteering. And I'm like, literally, like, this is the day and night before, but I'm like going, just like hand this guy my freaking card, and I'm like shaking, like pale in the face.
You like did not feel good.
Just at the venue. I was so scared. So I'm curious because I was like, I'm not trying to say I stole the spotlight with the anxiety the day before, but I was just like, how did you feel going into it,
Yeah. So like, it's such a hard thing. Like for me, in any race, I guess just because I've been doing races for a while, like I don't get nervous when I'm there. I get nervous like before. Like the morning of, I'm kind of like, okay, like let's do this shit. Like when I'm at the start line of anything, like even any of the decas and stuff, like I do get nervous leading up to it. Like the week prior, my anxiety was like on another level. But like once I got there, I was cool. Yeah. Like as soon as you step up to like the start line, you're in the crowd with everybody, and we like gave each other a hug. Yeah. Like me, Rich, and Alana gave each other like a group hug, and I just kind of like took a breath, and I was like, well, you can't back out now, so let's just fucking do it. And that's like the only time for me where I can actually breathe and feel good, and like I'm not nervous at all. It just feels like whatever happens. I'm gonna give my best effort and just like have a good time doing it. Like I feel like I've taken myself out of the zone of being so nervous. I'm more excited to just like be blessed to be out there.
Yeah.
You know
what I mean?
That's
how I felt on course. And I think it was such a special race because I felt that for 9 hours, just like an overwhelming sense of like, we made it, we did it, like we're here. I think that was one of the thoughts that kept kind of, because I really did. It wasn't like I just kind of had this euphoric like, or it wasn't just by chance that I had this like euphoric 9 hour run. Yeah. It was like, I really had to, I spent the week before, which I was really grateful that I had about a week because my classes had finished 2 weeks before. So I had exactly like 7 days, I think, to decompress and really focus on my mental going into the race. And it was really helpful. Anthony, same guy I was talking about earlier, I think he called pretty much everyone that was doing the ultra, but I had like a 30-minute conversation with him, basically just like him just kind of really being like, hey, like you got to get the mental in check because that's what's going to get you out there.
Oh yeah. Totally. The only reason why I would say, well, no, 2 reasons. One, because I was going through family shit. And so like the week leading up to it, I wasn't like too great, but I was still like, I was in my zone like for training. But also the whole like surprise with Joey just like really got me in my feels because I literally have not seen like,
I told him.
Seriously, shout out to Joey. Like I'm going to say his name multiple times in this podcast, but like
big part of the day.
Yeah. It was like one of the best parts of my day. And it also happened at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And we had like just woke up. I like had, I had that pit in my stomach, and then I was like, okay, I'm cool. Whatever
Race
happens,
morning
happens.
was chaos.
Yeah, the morning was
chaos.
Crazy. We wake up, I have this pit in my stomach. Like I said, I was going through family stuff, whatever. So I woke up and I was like, something's going on. Like I just had that gut feeling. And then I looked at Alana and I was like, all right, dude, we got this. Like good vibes only. It's gonna be fine. Lose my shoes. Can't fucking find them anywhere.
Like they were in a bag like next to the door, and then we're leaving
right next
and they're
to the
gone.
door. We all saw them. Alana saw them. Denise saw them. Max saw them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what or how my brain was like, we need to take this and put this in the wrong bag.
But that's what she did.
But that's what I did. And
she's out here like accusing people. Like, it's like Clue.
No,
it's
I wasn't.
It's 5 a.m. We're playing Clue about like not who died, but who freaking took Tracy's shoes. She's like, "Are you guys sure you didn't take them?"
No, I was just like freaking the fuck out. And I was like, dude, listen. I looked at her. I said, it looks like I'm running in my old pair of shoes. Like, thank God I brought my second pair of shoes. And then finally, by like whatever the fuck is out there, whatever juju is out there, I just so happened to open up the side panel of my Monmouth University backpack. And I was like, you bitch, there's my shoes.
Yeah.
We get there. Denise forgets everything at the house.
Like her race packet.
Her ultra shirt.
Yeah. Like the things you need to get on the course.
Yeah, the things we picked up
and
the
we
day
have
before.
30 minutes.
Yeah, we have 30 minutes to get there because now we're late because I lost my shoes. So now, everything comes in threes. So we're two out.
And then my freaking race, like, time chip bracelet breaks, and I'm like, well, son of a bitch. And I got like I'm like shaking with anxiety again. I'm still, the nervous wreck lasted. It was still there. Like Tracy's like, oh, we're cool. I found my shoes, but I'm like just like shaking. And then just to call out Joey, he basically like, I think for the past 3 months, he told me he was coming and then it was gonna be a surprise. So I was like corresponding with him about all the details and where we were gonna be and telling him how to get in the venue and all of that. And so on top of all this chaos, I'm also like holding the weight of the surprise on my shoulders, knowing that we have 10 minutes for them to talk and catch up after 7 years. And to me, I'm like, how is this going to happen? I told him, I was like, Joey, you need to get there earlier because because he wanted to show up right before we started.
Oh,
and basically just be like, go Tracy, and just have he was out there. But I was like, dude, we need to pencil in time for emotions. Like, you're a dude. She's going to be crying.
I haven't seen him in like 7 years. Like, seriously, I have not seen him in forever. We talk like every day, and it was like, thank God that he came early because I like blacked out.
Yeah.
I saw him and I was like, first of all, he didn't even say hello. He just came up to us.
Started clapping.
Like he wouldn't,
yeah.
Because he's Joey. I know you guys don't know him, but like, it's just a Joey thing to do. And he just comes up and he's like, hey, and he starts clapping. And I kind of like looked at him and then I looked at Mac and Rich and they were like, who the fuck is this guy?
And you're like, yeah, who the fuck is this guy?
I was like, who? And then I looked at him and I immediately started crying.
It was probably, and here I am, like I started recording, like I was like a few steps behind her. I was recording it. I'm like, you can hear me in the video, like crying behind the camera. I'm like,
so she's like pouting behind the camera. It was actually really cool.
And then Scott, the I Am a Spartan podcast guy, he goes, yeah, you guys are late.
It was just so classic, like a great way to enter the race with all these emotions. Scott, like she said, the guy from I Am Spartan podcast out loud in the video was like, you guys are fucking late. And we're like,
so
we know.
Yeah. Everything's broken. Shoes are lost. People are crying. I'm crying. Like,
oh my God.
So it was I think honestly, it was a good distraction, but we also just didn't have a lot of time to warm up. But it was a long enough race where I was like, we'll warm up. We took one lap, and in my brain, I was like, you know what? We got 16 miles to warm up. Fuck it. We're chilling. It's fine.
Like, we're just gonna go.
It's fine. But yeah, race morning was chaos. I was anxious. Yeah. You were crying, accusing people of stealing things.
Yeah, that was funny as hell.
It's awesome.
So then we get into the race, and okay, so like for me, this was really cool. So this is the only race that we've been to so far where basically everybody starts at the same time. So in a typical race, it goes like, by age groups. Like I'm normally the first age group. So we have 3 age groups typically with ours just because of the amount of people. So it's like 18 to, what is it?
24.
18 to 24. 25 to 29, and then there's normally the 50 to 55 with us, which I think that they switched this year for a couple races.
It felt weird. Yeah, they felt like there was different people out there with us.
But this time around for the Ultra, everybody that was running age group or that was the competitive wave ran at 6:15.
Yeah.
So there was a shit ton of us out there.
There was a lot of people.
Like a ton of
people.
people.
Which is so cool. Like again, like I feel like I don't meet ultra runners very often, but the amount of people, so I have to burp. the amount of people that run ultra marathons when you go to one is just always so mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, all of these people are just out here. Like,
Yeah, I was like, where
we're
did these
gonna
people
run
come from?
all
There's like
day
150 of us in
it's
this
so
corral.
cool. It's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's just one of the biggest, like, most surface level things. Like, it was so cool. It was so inspiring. It was so just like, it was just a good feeling to have.
Yeah,
so many
it was a really, really cool experience going out there with everybody. And then, so normally, like, we've been running in the woods together, and like, there's normally like this chain reaction that happens where we always end up starting together, and then at some point,
I'll just say goodbye.
Alana's like, Alana will be in the conversation running with us, and then I'll turn around to say something to her, and Alana's gone. Like, I'll turn around and she's like 200 meters behind us, and I'm like, first of all, how'd you get there? And also, you were just here, so this doesn't make any
where'd
sense.
you go? Yeah, I've decided that it's the hills right now. My hill efficiency.
Yeah,
it has a cap, a limit, and then I just decided to let you guys.
She's like, take
leave
it
without the drama.
So we start this race, and we're kind of like, I mean, we didn't necessarily start together, but we weren't like that far. But anyway, when we're in the woods and we're training,
I let y'all go pretty quick because also I really wanted to be kind of not.
But you were conservative as fuck.
Yeah, my plan was to be feeling fantastic by mile 16.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be like, or by the transition, which we thought was 18, but ended up being 16.
Yeah, which God bless. But we do this like woohoo thing where it's like if Rich can't hear me and then I can't hear Alana, we're like woohoo.
Which let me tell a story about how that like started. So basically, we're just on this run, and Tracy. I'm gonna go ahead and say you're just like uncomfortable with silence. Like you would rather be making noise than not saying anything. And so I think you said you just like made a noise, and I was like, oh, that. I think one of us were like, oh, that sounds like that Frozen like guy.
Woohoo,
it's like
woohoo,
big summer blowout. And so like that just started being a thing. And then so anytime that it would get quiet on one of these random runs we did, training runs a few months ago, and this kind of ties into that 20 miler that were really, really wrong for me. I think it was on that run. I want to say we started doing it. So we're like, oh, we're going to start doing like a kind of just like a flocker, like call out basically. So it's like a signal just being like, where are you at? Like, anyway, so just whenever it gets quiet, it's just something that we started doing. And so I want to say like every 5 minutes someone's doing it on this 20 miler. And then basically it was like mile 10 for this run is where it started going really south for me mentally because I was just completely on zero and we had like 10 miles left. And then it started raining and I'm just feeling like trash and all these things. I'm probably like being hormonal and emotional. So just a combination of horrible things.
Right.
So I don't have panic attacks pretty much ever, but I had like 4 on this run because my body was just rejecting this run. But I was like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway. And so basically, like, imagine the most dramatic, like, depressing scene ever. It's in the thick brush of the woods. We're kind of just bobbing through these trails. Tracy and Rich are like probably half a mile ahead of me at this point. It's pouring rain. Every like third step, I'm like taking a break, like leaning up against a tree, like hyperventilating, like literally like trying so hard not to just break down sob because that'll take more time and then I'll finish the run later. So anyway, I'm having a moment every time I stop to like legitimately like cry. Tracy's like, woohoo! I'm like, woohoo! Because I'm here, but I'm also crying. And so like I have a little bit of PTSD with this like woohoo thing, but anyway, continue the ultra.
That was so funny.
Oh, that was a moment by myself where I'm like, this is comically so sad. I'm so sad right now.
It was so true. I hate silence, man. It just gets me. Anyway, so
would rather make the most random noises than be silent.
So we're out in the ultra and like we get to this portion where I want to say it was the bucket carry.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was the bucket carry. And so Rich is in front of me. I am obviously behind him, but like a good enough a point away where you couldn't see each other because you had to go out through these trees, hook a right, and then come back, but the trees were in the center. So you couldn't see the other side of the loop, right?
And at this point, I think I'm on like, because I kept hearing that you guys were like however many minutes ahead of me. So I think just to put it in perspective, I was probably like through the trees on the trail that was leading to the bucket carry.
So we weren't that far. No. We were kind of like where we would be in like a training
but
run,
no one
right?
could see each other.
Yeah. So I see one of my friends, which like, if you don't know by now, I know a shit ton of people.
Tracy will be out there talking to whoever. I don't know how or why, or she just knows them.
I make friends.
It's
I
awesome.
talk to people
It's so
that are
awesome.
out there. It's like, we're going to be out here for 33 miles.
That's what we're here for.
Like I said, I don't like silence. So like, I see one of my friends that I know and I'm like, cutting it up with her. And I'm like, oh my God, so good to see you. Like, haven't seen you in forever. We're like giving each other a hug. And we're on this loop. And Rich hears me through the woods talking to this girl.
Yeah.
So he goes, woohoo. And so I'm like, woohoo. And so we're like screaming to each other. And then Alana
I heard it like
us.
way in the distance. But every time I heard it, it was like too far away to where it was like, I don't really know if that was them or if I'm hearing things. And so I never said it back, which I feel bad because then it would have been like, oh, Alana's not dead.
I know. Well, and then I was thinking about it too when she said that she heard us. And I was like, imagine if she woohooed and nobody woohooed back.
And that's
and
what
everybody else there would have been like,
embarrassing.
what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, so I just never did. But I heard it. I did. So it meant something during the race. It meant something.
So the beginning of the race was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Honestly, I don't have a lot of memory from the beginning of the race. Like,
Really?
I don't remember most of it. I think, like, mile, like, yeah, I don't remember most of it. I remember, I mean, that first bit with the obstacles, just because I remember I got through most of the obstacles. But I honestly, the front half of the race, like, I don't remember much until, like, the 5K before the transition. So what is that, like, mile 13?
Yeah.
Because I remember, I think the
when
hardest
you came
part
out of the ultra loop.
yeah, the hardest part of the race, which, yeah, I mean, I remember I missed the spear. I remember the obstacles, but I don't really remember my thought process, like, in the beginning of the race. I remember the 5K before the transition. So yeah, mile 13 is whenever it started getting, like, mentally kind of pretty hard for me. Or I think it was like mile, let's say 13 to maybe like 22 as the ones that were rough for me, which was kind of like I anticipated mile like 20 to finish, like 33 would have been the hardest, but for me it was definitely like the 5K before, and I think that's just because I really don't know why those were hard for me.
I mean, like, for me, maybe it's the same thing for you. Like, the end, when you know that you're getting to a place where, like, you're almost done, it's like your body almost feels this fatigue and this mental fatigue where you're like, oh, I'm going to be in the transition zone soon, so I get to take a break. Yeah. So your body starts, like, shutting down in ways that you almost can't control. And they do this real fun thing where it's like the finish line is right there, but the ultra loop is directly next to the fire. So, like, you're running past the finish line already knowing that you're going to have to run another 16 and a half miles again and do all of that over again. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing?
I think it's comparable to like, how everyone, if you've ever gone on like a run more than 5K, like, you know, the last mile, it just feels like the longest mile of your life because you're just, you're almost there. And so I think for me, there was also this, it was just like a straight, just like thick portion of the trees where it's like you could hear the music too. So I think I knew I was getting close, but I didn't really know how close because I wasn't really familiar with the course at that point. This is my first time through it, and there's also still people around, and I think at that point too I was really wanting to walk, but then I'm like, okay, we still have so long in this race, like I don't need to be walking. So I think that's what it was. My body just was kind of in that like
kind of like anticipating
shutdown, anticipating like shutdown, getting to the break. But once I got to the transition, like the first few miles afterwards were rough just because I was like really trying to lock in, and I had to kind of fight just some thoughts. Which
it's
honestly,
good. The first lap like went well. Go back to the transition though. Like, so I spent 7 minutes in transition.
Yeah. What did your transition look like? Okay, so just I guess for anyone who doesn't really know like what we did, or which we're like 30 minutes in, but like what we did, or kind of maybe just to give a little bit more context for anyone who doesn't have listened to other episodes. Basically, we did a Spartan ultramarathon this past like 2 weekends ago at this point, and the format of it is we ended up doing a 16-mile loop with the 30 whatever obstacles. And then you go to a transition zone. For us, it was mile 16. You do your stuff so you can kind of put whatever you want to there. So we had food, electrolyte refills, all the things. And then you do the whole thing again. So it's two laps of a 16-mile run.
So for me, I got to transition, and like we said earlier, we've been practicing like what to eat. So we both already knew what we had on our bucket. So like I had sweet potato, I had some Tostitos chips, I had extra electrolytes already prepped in a water bottle. I had regular water prepped in a different water bottle. So that way I could basically take everything that was on me that I brought out there and just switch it out with all of the new goos and nutrition and stuff like
that.
Shout
out to Ziploc bags.
Yo, shout out to Ziploc bags.
For real.
Sponsor our asses. Because we used dumb amounts of Ziploc
that.
Yeah. So that I felt super good about. I came in transition. I went doot, like threw out my shit, put it in, made a really quick video. We did this thing where it was like halfway through, you said your name and who you were, and like, hi, my name is Trass, and this is me halfway through the transition zone.
Yeah. It was like a trend on TikTok being like, this is me before X, Y, and Z.
That was fun.
I forget what the original trend was, but we just did it like at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then all of us at the end are like crying and dirty.
Yeah. What I didn't do is I actually ate half of a Uncrustable because I couldn't put down all my sweet potato, and I got nervous. Sweet potato was
hard to put down for some reason.
Dude, it was so easy during training runs for me to put down a sweet potato, and I loved it. But
I feel like I needed to put like more sugar in it.
Yeah,
something.
well,
like,
considering it was so hot, like the race was so hot, and I stopped at every water station, and I was refilling my water bottles while I was out there. I think I drank honestly like 2 gallons of water because I refilled 4 times both of my flasks, which are 16 ounces each. And I took a drink of water at every single station, like plain water.
But we both did really good at that, which I was like really proud of both of us. Like neither of us were like extremely dehydrated afterwards.
No.
Like I was good. My pee was clear.
Felt good. Yeah, the pee was clear.
Was not expecting that.
So when I got there, and for me, like the sweet potato, I couldn't swallow it because like I said, it was so hot. So you're creating all of this saliva and you're like trying to get down this sweet potato. And I was like, No, and Joey was standing over there, and I was like, I probably look like a fucking dumbass right now because I'm like mushing this thing down my throat. So I was like, let me just like eat half of this Uncrustable and, we'll just call it a day. And then I took a handful of Tostitos and I ran out of the transition with them.
Tostito chips in hand.
So I had like a Tostito chips in my hand, like literally had this Ziploc bag full of Tostitos and was like, all right, let's go. And I knew that the first couple obstacles was like these hurdles that I could basically step over. So I'm literally like running through the start line again, just eating chips while I'm out there. Because like I didn't want to stay in transition forever. Yeah. And I was like, I knew that I was over 5 minutes, which was like my goal, like to get in. Yeah. But I had to stop to go to the bathroom. Clearly. So that was my second poop. And then I just was eating Tostitos for the first like mile.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. I ended up, so for me, I think a big thing was just making sure I didn't put extra stress on myself than needed. Like I really wanted to set the bar high for myself. Okay. So, this is what I think ended up being a big thought process for me the first loop. Was my goal was under 10 hours just because I kind of saw that there was like, that was maybe like the average time and like looking at the results of the past few years of this specific race. Yeah. And I wanted to be a little bit more ambitious, but I also just didn't know how it was going to go for me. So I wasn't trying to like be like, I'm going to do it in 5 hours and then like be like crushed by the end of the run, but I also like didn't want to be like, I'll just finish, that was kind of the goal I was going to cross the finish line. That was the requirement, but I did want to like, set some standards for myself throughout the run. So I think the first half I ended up really kind of sifting through what the run was feeling, just getting familiar with what I was doing, I think, and kind of really getting a feel for it. I think a big thing was just understanding, okay, like I'm doing this run that I've been stressing about for so long, just really trying to get into the present,
like falling into place.
Yeah, and that's what felt so good about the second loop because I knew how long it was going to take me. I knew, like, what I was capable of, what obstacles I was struggling with, which ones that felt good, which, what changed on the next one. So I felt in the groove on the second loop, and I think you have said it too. Like we both preferred the second loop.
Yeah, I preferred the second loop a lot better,
despite being fatigued. Yeah, but yeah, so that I think that's where it was really at mentally in the first loop. Recalling it now, I was really like, okay, like I was looking at my watch, I was at like 3 hours. I was like, a few miles out. I was like, I think I can get this in under 10 hours for sure. Like that was at like in the bag at this point. And so I was trying to see whether or not I was going to try to maybe do under 9, which I was close, but
you were close
with the transition. I definitely blew some time off, but I think I took 12 minutes of the transition, which a little longer, but not bad. I think Rich took 15. He was just hanging
Rich
out
here taking a nap.
Yeah, for real. But
like, what?
Dude, what are you doing? But I had to dump my shoes out because it was pretty sandy. So they were like sand into my shoes was giving me mad blisters. So I dumped my shoes out. I was trying to I just switched my pack out. I had to refill my water bottle. So I just had a little bit more to do, I think, than you did. Yeah. But then also take the video that we did.
And we were having fun with it,
yeah,
too.
and I sat down on the ground for a little bit because I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take a minute. Just, even if it takes a little longer, I need to dump these shoes out. Just like, get present, feel good.
That's so funny because the one thing that I know for a fact that I told myself is the only time I'm sitting down is if I'm taking a shit. I will not sit. Like, I wanted to sit down
so bad.
In transition.
I wanted to sit down so bad, and I did. But I knew I was going to get back up because I never battled.
Yeah.
I think something my sister, or it was Rich or my older sister, asked me, like, was there a moment where you thought you weren't going to finish? And I was like, no. Because I was not going to not finish.
We're not going to drive 12 hours to get out to this fucking race and do all this work and not
there
finish.
Was too much that went into this for me not to finish.
So, okay, so with that being said, the second loop obviously felt better to both of us as far as like falling into place. My body didn't feel better, but I will say like mentally I felt better. So I pushed harder, I feel like on the second race or on the second lap, I'm sorry. For me, and I'm curious to know, like I know Alana had this like totally mental extravaganza, like this is amazing. And so did I, but I did break at one point. I did break. And the time for me that broke, so I'm curious to know if you did as well, is like when you come out, there's, basically you run this loop and there's a point in time where you are racing with the beast racers, which is the people that are just running the half marathon. Yeah. And there's a point in time where they break off and they go to the right and they continue the trek. And then all of the ultra people go to the left and then they do an extra loop. So that way they can get that more mileage to make the loop 16 instead of 13. And there's this weird gap where like from mile 23 to 26 was just absolute fucking misery for me. Like my hip, and I still feel it now. Like my hip was so bad. I thought the next day I was injured. Like I looked down at my watch. I remember being like, holy shit, I have 10 miles left.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And like mentally just knowing how tough 10 miles is just on its own, I was like, oh my God, I have 10 miles left. And I kind of like got that weird like gulp feeling in my throat where like I felt like I wanted to vomit. I was getting like massive anxiety. Yeah. My hip was hurting me. Like I couldn't put down any more electrolytes. So I was just drinking water at this point. I actually took my bottle and turned it over and threw out all the electrolytes that I had and refilled with water at the transition, at the ultra loop transition. And just like nothing was working. I was like, this sucks. So then by time 26 came around and we kind of like came off that bend, I was like, all right, we got almost 10K left and if not a little bit more. Yeah. And I knew that I was going to see everybody at the end because at this point I knew that Mac finished. I knew Barry finished. I knew Rich had to be close. Yeah. So I was like, I know that I'm going to see all my people at the end. I knew Joey was going to be there. I didn't know if he was going to be out in the woods sitting in that chair. He was like sitting in the woods in a chair. So I was like,
Joey basically just like took a hard, like his own journey. And he found a stretch in the woods where it wasn't the spectator area. So he took a hike and he was sitting out there shirtless with the lawn chair in the middle of these people running, tanning. And he saw both of us out there. That was really cool.
So I had that in my mind. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll see Joey in a second or like, maybe I'll see my people. And once 26 came, I was like, all right, fuck this. I got to get it done. And I just started hauling ass. Like nothing was working though. Like at that point, all of the obstacles at that point, like rope climb, slip wall, I couldn't even move my hips. Like physically could not get my knees to my chest. Yeah. Still did them, but that was the most brutal part for me.
Yeah, so I just it's funny. This is like recalling this almost. It's like a lot of just moments like hit me. And also just two like thought processes that I had to go through. So that second, I would say the obstacles, they keep you distracted. They keep you entertained, I would say. Yeah. But the thing about this course was it was really front heavy on the obstacles. So by the time you got to the ultra loop, there's really just a couple things like a freaking like Atlas stone. It's just kind of like pointless, like pace breaker obstacles, like nothing that's really like super challenging, like all the rigs and stuff were in the beginning of the loop. So yeah, there really was a lot of opportunity to get up in your head. And I think after that the second ultra loop, I do remember that was like where, so I don't want to like discredit, I think we've kind of, or I don't know, I don't want to discredit the like places you kind of had to go into to like really finish that course. Cause I think both of us, like we had a really good experience, but it's like there was a lot of time for thinking out there and a lot of time for quitting and a lot of moments where you're like, you really can let yourself go on that like slippery slope. And I think that's why it was so valuable for me to have that, like what I was saying earlier, have that week before to like really kind of, that my goal was to get myself mentally locked in. And so I spent a lot of nights following or prior to the race, like journaling and really just like sifting through, okay, like what is going to make me break in this race? What would cause me to not finish this race? Because physically I don't have proof, but I think I can do it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Like I've done the most I can. So there's really no reason for me to not get out here and just finish this race.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I really had some like fall, I don't know the word for it, but I had a lot of things that I set up for myself. Like I wrote 2 kind of things on my hands. I wrote flocker on one hand and then this little like phrase that I didn't know what I was going to write on. I knew I wanted flocker on my hands because I wanted to like remember my people and okay, like we're out here, like there's other people out here with me.
Yep.
But my other hand, I think I wrote, don't let your mind stop what you know your body can do. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty powerful for me because my biggest weakness, and it's funny because Abigail called me out this past week and also just like having conversations just about like life things. My confidence is a big killer for me because I don't
know why.
I do because that's all it's
I know.
Dude.
You're your own worst critic.
It is. It's the truth. And so that's a big just like fault in my everyday life. And even in past races, like I'll be literally halfway through the freaking monkey bars and then just drop. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, what makes me think I'm like actively doing this rig, actively completing it. And I'm like, can't do it.
Like what?
Like for why did I just fall? Like, no, like the strength is there. And so that was really impactful for me and really important for me because the second loop around during the rig, so the front half of the second loop, so probably mile 20, my hands tore like crazy.
Yeah, she got bad blisters.
I have a track record of being a big baby. And so my hands were bleeding basically with like 10 miles to go, maybe more at that point. I really don't even, I think it still had a half marathon to go at that point and all the obstacles. So I really am glad I ended up landing on that to write on my hands, like don't let your mind stop what you know your body can do, because I was like looking at my hands and I'm like, how am I gonna do the obstacles with this? I've never been through this before. This has never been required of me to like push past bleeding hands and climb the freaking rope, you know? Like I fully could just be like, medic, call the ambulance. It hurts. This is painful.
But Joey said it because I looked at him and I was like, how's Alana doing? And he goes, I don't know. She just threw her hand up and went, And he was like, I don't know what that means.
Well, because I'm carrying this like injury or whatever you call this. I'm like, owie, I'm carrying this boo-boo by myself for 10 miles. And then I see someone like, my hands. Ouch. So like that was like, I'm really, again, really glad that I chose that because I remembered like at one point I was like, dude, like my strength didn't go away.
Yeah.
My hands are just bleeding. Yeah. So I was like, screw
You'll
that.
suffer.
And so I ended up doing the rest of the obstacles. Like I didn't take the penalties. I did them because I was just like, for one, no reason to make this race any longer than it already has to be.
Oh yeah.
B, let's just do it. You know, like I really unlocked this like fuck it mentality out there that I have never felt before. And so I think it was just me experiencing like a lot of full circle moments, things kind of falling into place that I've been preparing for so long. Mm-hmm. So that's why the overall picture of the ultra was so special for me, because it was just like what I needed to kind of make me feel like you can do this. You know, there's a path out here. It's not, for me, it's no longer just like dipping the toe in the water. Like I'm sending it. Yeah. Like, let's do something crazy.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's so cool. What 100 miler are we doing? Like, I'm ready to fucking go, you know?
So ready.
Which is crazy. Like, me just let down. But also, it was a lot of really just like special moments out there for me, just making me feel like, okay, there was a point to all of this, you know?
Hell
but
awesome.
There were a lot of moments where I would be like, oh God, I just want to walk, man.
Right.
Wow. Ooh, like this is not what I want to do. And I think just to be fully transparent, because that's something too that I've realized is pretty, just in a sense of like core values, pretty like important to me. Because I think I've been pretty frustrated these past few months, just on like a personal note, with realizing just like how many people keep emotional things close to them. and just like honest emotions close to them, because then people have these like false narratives of experiences and like what they should look like. But for me, I'm like, no, dude, this is exactly what it required of me. You go figure out how to do it for yourself. Just that's a general kind of just like thing that I've been sifting through. But there was a lot of times. So like for anyone, I don't think I mentioned on the last podcast or anything, but I had a brother pass away last January. And there was a lot of time. He was 16. It was a car accident. Horrible. There was a lot of moments. I wore a lightning bolt earring because there is a video of my younger brother. He basically like heard thunder and was like saying that, oh, that was Jacob talking to him through the thunder. Very emotional. Like, and he's like 5, or he was 5 at the time, 5 or 6 at the time. So it was just like one of those really wholesome like moments we had in those early like months after he passed. And there was a lot of moments where I kind of had to like be like, dude, like you're alive.
Yeah.
You're here.
Blessed to be out here.
Like run this fucking race and run it hard.
Hell yeah.
And so there were a lot of moments where I was like letting my body take over. Like, oh, my knees are hurting me. Blisters on my feet. Bleeding fucking hands, you know?
Yeah, be like, fuck it. I'm blessed.
I was like, dude, like I'm gonna do this. Like, why are you running? Like, why are you walking? You know, otherwise, like it just, so there's a lot. And so that's, I didn't really want to shortchange that experience because I think it's really hard to summarize a 9-hour experience.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a lot of
you
thoughts.
go through like a lot of emotions, and even like saying that, like that ties into the finish. Like that was the first time for me, like, which on the same path, you know, it just, there was so many ebbs and flows that you went through where you were like on a really big high, but then you thought about your family. And like for me, you know, like I was thinking about my grandpa, which like unfortunately passed away that morning. And like for her, really she was thinking about her brother. So like you have all this time to think and literally do nothing else but think, and have to like push yourself through getting through 33 miles of just going through emotional battles. And like, that's incredibly special. Yeah. That's like a special thing to do for yourself, because it's kind of selfish in a way, because you are just thinking of yourself in that moment where you're like, okay, I could do this. Oh no, I can't. This sucks. Like, why am I doing this? But then you're also grateful. Like she just said, you're like, no, I can fucking do this. I'm going to do it for me because I am so blessed right now to be out here and be healthy enough to do this. Yeah. And I think that like that gets lost a lot.
It does.
Like, you know, a lot of people just feel the hurt and they're like, yeah, okay, I'll finish. Right. And finishing is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Finishing is amazing. But it's also different when like
set the bar higher.
Yeah. Like set the bar higher for yourself, because you can do it. Like there's no reason why that walk can't turn into a light jog. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I definitely felt that too. Like, and for me, like that tied into the finish, because it was the first time that I felt like I had so much support, like from you and from Joey and from like my friends that are out there and my team and people that I met through the Spartan community that have like texted me that morning, and my family that has just been like texting me that morning. And I literally, like, when my adrenaline like I crashed, like I hit that finish line and I just fucking started sobbing. Like
hard
sobbing because I was so grateful. And like you're saying, like, I can't believe that I selfishly was able to get myself out of that like headspace that I never thought I'd be able to do before. And you know, like I saw everybody at the finish line. Like I saw Mac and Barry and Rich and Joey and Ty. They were all standing there, and I literally went up to the fence. I just started fucking sobbing, and I like in that moment just was incredibly blessed, and I just was like so thankful almost that I was like, I can't believe I just did that shit. And I was like so surprised at myself for doing that because I felt so prepared and I felt so good and I went through so much emotional shit. But then like I said, just seeing everybody and like knowing that you were out there and I knew you were going to finish. I knew Denise was going to finish, and I was like, fuck yeah, man.
Like it was, I think gratitude and just like overwhelming, like just being in the present moment and just like feeling like alive. It was just like, so that's, so I'll just kind of, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself because I had, at this point in the story, I haven't finished the race yet.
She hasn't finished the race yet.
So basically, like, I think just to sum up a few miles, basically, it was cool hitting, we both talked about this, it was really cool hitting the 26-mile mark because neither of us had run a marathon before. So it was really cool.
We were like, oh yeah, marathon lit, let's really run more.
Cool. Like there was a lot of small wins in the race that kept me going. What is that?
I don't know. There's something going on outside.
Whatever. yeah, like I think, for example, like I think I looked down at my watch at one point. I was at 24. I was like, ooh, you got 2 more miles to the marathon. That's spicy. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And then I was like, my goal at that point was to get to 26. And then when I got 26, I was like, that's freaking cool. Just hit my first marathon. Let's keep going. And then at that point, it was kind of just, one foot after the other. But I didn't reach a moment of like,
keep talking,
emotional turmoil until mile 30. And that's because
30?
Yeah. Which is far into the race. That's why I was so I was so surprised at myself, because usually I get pretty emotional pretty quick during like, physical endeavors. So yeah, I was pretty surprised that was the point where I got emotional, and it was because I only had 5K left at that point. Or I had to do math, because a half, or if the ultra marathon that we did with Spartan was a 50K, and I think that's 31 miles, right? So at that point, my expectation was to be done like in a mile, but then I did math, and because of my penalty loops in the course, I ended up having to go until 33. So for me, I was kind of battling like, we're almost done. There's only a few more miles left. It was just that natural decline my body kind of like put myself into, that I was having to fight against. And then also there were still some obstacles I had to do. So that was just like mental fatigue and physical fatigue. But also too, what was really special about being out there with other people was everyone was so freaking supportive, especially
oh my God,
in those last 3 miles. Like pretty much every person I passed was like, oh my God, you're still running? Oh my God. Like, because I would really
this
try to.
This is the second loop for you?
Every time I would like pass someone, I would really try my best to be like, hey, good job. Like, no matter if they were walking the beast, running the ultra, like, I didn't care who it was. Like, I was like, hey, good job. Like, whoever you, I would really try to just like.
Yeah, I did too.
Because that would pull me out of.
I was like, you guys are great. Like, if people were walking, I'd be like, you guys got this. And they're like, how do you know? Oh, you're wearing purple. Like,
they would, when I'm really behind them, you're like, oh, like, you're killing it. And then I'll pass them and be like, what the fuck? You're killing it. And I'm like, no, you got this. Keep going. So those are just really cool interactions that I had like over and over. And then I started getting emotional because the closer I got to the finish, the more people's response was like exaggerated. So like, I think in those last 3 miles, like every single person I'd pass, they'd be like, oh my God, how are you still running? Yeah. Oh my God, you're killing it. They were just like making me emotional. They were at that point, it was making me really emotional. I remember there was one of the last obstacles was hurdles. I was getting over the hurdles.
Dude, by the way, at that point, like Spartan, get your shit together.
So stupid, but there was this one man, and he was like, girlfriend, you are like, he said something, I don't even remember what it was, but he said the nicest thing to me, and he was like, you're so close, like keep going. Oh. And I was like, thank you. Like it got me, it really did. Any emotion I was holding back at that point was like, it hit me, and I was like, fuck you, dude. That was so sweet. And so that's when I started, like, that's whenever it really was like a one foot after the other. Like I had to fight for those last 3 miles pretty hard because I was getting really emotional. I just wanted to break down and sob. And dude, it does last like half a mile of the Spartan race when there's just those bullshit obstacles, like the fucking,
I know,
what is it called, like those net climbs, or the like,
the
whatever,
fucking vertical cargo,
like
and the A-frame. You're like, do I really have to do this shit right now?
Like these pointless, like barely anything obstacles that are just kind of like a blockade to the finish, but you can see the finish line. Yeah. Those were the hardest for me
because they were right at the end. You just ran 33 miles and you're like, nothing works.
I was really close because everyone, like, basically the tree line opens up. It's pretty much a big open field, the last few obstacles in the finish. And you guys were all there pretty much at the like last.
At the rope climb, I think, right?
At the opening. Sorry, I'm like, I'm burp right now. And I almost wanted to tell you guys to be like, get out of here. Don't look at me, because I knew like when I saw you guys, I was gonna be pretty emotional. Yeah. And so I was really fighting back, like strong breakdown. Luckily I like held it together and then got to the finish, and I did the same thing. I beelined for a fence. I grabbed that, I just fell dramatically on the ground and then just started sobbing. And Joey, he was the only person, he like made it to me first, came over, he goes, yeah, you could have been faster, so I don't know why you're crying. He was like, yeah, good job, but you definitely could have done better. I was like, 2 middle fingers up, like sobbing. So you suck, but thank you. And so I was just like, this fucker. Where's Tracy?
The end was so special.
It was so emotional, and it was so special.
So special.
And yeah, that's just like, I think the reason that I would like 100%, not the reason, but one of the reasons I'm 100% going to do another ultra or a really long distance, just something so challenging that I have to really fight for is it holds you accountable to every day, like
fuck yeah,
achieving something greater than what you wanted to do.
Like our weeks leading up to that was hard.
Yeah,
they were really hard. Like they were mentally and physically taxing.
Those last few runs, I think the last like 2 or 3 weeks, every day, because we basically have been running Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday. Sometimes we were all kind of doing different things on the weekend. So our main run days were Tuesday, Thursday. And for the last 2 weeks, every time we would show up, we would all just open the door at 7 a.m. and we're like,
all three of us would look at each other and be like,
today? Can we just walk? Can we just hang here? Can we just like all talk and sit on the grass? Like no one would know.
Yeah.
No one would know.
Yeah.
like
we would all get out on the trail and it's dark outside and we have our headlamps on and we're like, this sucks.
This is dumb and I hate this. But then it's like, it's just like the process like of having to fight for every single training run. Like it's almost funny because it's like, okay, current moment I am miserable because I'm having to do this run that I just don't want to do. I have 15 things to do today. The sun's not even up. Why am I doing this? But then you have to just dig for those moments, those purposes where it's like, okay, I'm about to go do something crazy and I need to be ready for it.
And the payoff is like just so
huge.
Insane. Like we both got done that race and I was just like in shock of myself of how much I genuinely enjoyed like the fight of it. And at one point, like I saw on the race, Scott, who we mentioned before, he hurt his ankle, so he was walking with another guy, Brett, and I felt for him because I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe this is like the first ultra of the year probably for him because it's the first one on the East Coast. And normally he always catches up to me and it's a running joke because he caught me on the A-frame one time and said, gotcha bitch, and I was like, fuck, it's the last obstacle before the damn finish. I can't believe you got me. But anyway, I was making a joke and I was like, I'm going to catch you this time. And I really caught him because he hurt his ankle. But like, let's just say I caught him. And I passed him and he's like, you're going to do it. He's like, I think you're going to place. Like, I haven't seen many girls go through yet. And I was like, oh, fuck off. I was like, no way. You know, like I'm
get that in your head. Like during the race.
I kind of like got in my head a little bit and I was like, no. And I really didn't have that much left to the race at that point. But I was just grateful for even seeing him because he was like, you got this, dude. And like Alana said, just the ebbs and flows and seeing people and seeing the amount of support. As soon as we were done the race and like just talking about that type of shift of like all of the grueling training runs that we've had leading up to this and then finally seeing it pay off and how prepared we were, we both were like, so
what's next?
Do we do this again?
And I think we both kind of decided we would.
We were both looking at each other and we were like, I think we want to do this again. Like seriously, like, I want to do another long run. Like another long
But it's
run.
just like it's gonna get to the point where it's like, okay, the 50K has been checked off the box. So like,
then we were talking about this. And we were like, would you caddy for me for 100? We were like,
100% would do it.
We were like, I would so do that for you. Like,
I would run 100 miles right next to you. We pace each other the whole time.
Let's do this. Like, we're just
like,
so in it because it's just like I said, it's just such a rewarding like experience. And so now that we're all done, excuse me, I'm like losing my voice over here. We had like a full week off. Shout out to Alana though. Don't want to take away from the weekend at all. She's an absolute badass. We had a plan to do the ultrafecta. I legitimately popped my hip out of place, like dislocated my hip, so I was out. Alana ran the next day and just decided to take a leisurely stroll in the 10K and happened to get second.
Which I don't understand that at all.
So I don't know what the fuck that means.
Oh my god. It was that dude that like I've been telling people, I was like, that's very out of character.
She literally wakes up. She's like, are you guys gonna do this? And I'm like, I physically cannot move. Like me and poor Denise, man.
Limping, yo.
We're trying to like catch up to everybody.
Which, don't
to,
get
like,
me
see
wrong.
You guys.
To get up and off the ground was a hard task.
No, but like I was injured. Like I would get up off the ground and have to plan an extra 5 minutes to be able to get over to where I needed to be able to take pictures of them. And me and Denise were like, okay, let's go.
Like,
and we're like barely moving.
Yeah. Like it was rough.
It was rough.
Well, it was really, yeah. No, we basically like they were starting our heat later in the day. I wasn't planning on doing it when we got there at all, but Mac and Barry were doing the trifecta weekend.
Right.
And so we were there anyways. And so at this point, it's like 7:45. They were throwing our heat off at 8:15. I had already eaten, already hydrated a little bit. Which is a 10K at this point, you know, like
she's like, I did that in my sleep yesterday.
And I remember I really wasn't thinking about doing it at all until I walked to the bathroom just to pee or whatever. And I was like not limping. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. She comes up to the table, she's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do it.
Well, no, I was like, I think I have to do it.
She's like, I think I'm gonna do it.
I think I have
and I was like, okay, a little psycho crazy, but okay.
It made me mad because I was like, I'm very convicted to do this 10K right now.
I was like, you could do whatever the fuck you want. I will be right
"Y'all
here.
fun?" And so I
Sitting
signed my ass
down.
up and I ran it and somehow just got second.
Oh yeah, she kicked
So
ass,
it was
man. Like
cool. It was cool.
unbelievable. And like a pretty deep field the
It was
second
cool.
day. So yeah, that was pretty intense. But leading up to it now, we get done. We have like a whole week off of training. And now we are gun-ho because our next step is to go to Utah and run a mountain race and then do another race in West Virginia.
Yeah.
So we started our runs this week.
And I'm
And
hurting,
we're sore.
bro. I'm sore. Like, it was something about these past few workouts have been tough.
Yeah. Like a
Something
week off
about
will
it.
do something to you.
Yeah.
In a good way and in a bad way.
I mean, we both needed it because, borderline injury. Like,
yeah, I definitely needed it.
borderline injury.
Definitely have been feeling okay the last couple days. But let me tell you something. Those hills this morning, I was good until I got in my car. And then I was like, I think I'm going to throw up.
Yeah. Y'all,
Yeah.
keep in mind, I just ran an ultra marathon 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, like, nothing should really feel hard at this point.
Yeah.
This person sitting next to me on this couch writes these workouts. Yesterday we did the threshold day, and I knew it. I knew we were gonna do a threshold day, but I show up.
And then
I started this workout. I said, I have a feeling this is gonna be a little bit evil. I have a feeling that this is gonna be really bad. I have a feeling I'm gonna hate my life. This is something about me. I've never thrown up from working out, which might be rare because I think it's very common. Never done it. I was 1 second away from vomiting everywhere. This workout was probably the hardest workout I've done in my life. So that was stupid. I hate you, Tracy.
Yeah, she literally is like sitting on with the bike. We're holding rams above our heads. And she literally looks at me. She's like, I think I hate you right now.
I was like, I think I'm actually kind of mad. I looked at her, I said, you know me. You know how I am. And I think I'm mad at you.
Yeah. She's like, I think I'm mad. And I was like, you know what? I'll take it.
And I'm very sore today, so I had a right to be.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Anyway.
I gotta plug this in real quick. But
thing
yeah, dude, I'm really excited because I think that like mentally I'm still fucking scared for Utah because it is a mountain race. Considering the last mountain race that we had, I did in fact throw up a couple times on course, which was a pretty bad experience. However, I'm excited just knowing that I mentally did that to myself coming from nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say coming from nothing, but coming from a place of like not ever imagining myself to be able to run that far or that fast.
Yeah.
And going into this race. So we're in it now, bitches.
We're in it. And that's honestly like, I'm excited because it's just kind of unlocked this. I feel like it was a door we had to fight really hard to get to, but the door has been opened. And I'm excited for it to have been opened because I think there's a lot of things that I've never really even considered before that I definitely would consider now. Hence like longer races or different types of races.
Yeah.
Just more Spartans.
I don't know. We picked a really good year to push ourselves. Like we signed up for an ultra. We are going to do Utah
hard mountain race.
The hard mountain race.
Blazing heat of
and then
Utah
we're going to have to go to West Virginia, which we have to fucking swim. And let me tell you something. Alana is just as much of a landlocked mermaid as I am.
Like I've had nightmares about like the water.
Yeah, like it doesn't look
multiple.
that far, but I don't give a fuck.
Like I would be fighting.
It's still in the water.
A panic attack out there for sure.
Well, I'm gonna be the type of person that I'm gonna have to put this life vest on, and you got to click it in and do the whole thing, whatever. I'm gonna be the person that has so much anxiety about putting the life vest on that I'm not gonna tie it tight enough, and I'm gonna get into the water, and the life vest is gonna be like 5 feet above me, and I'm gonna have to like frog it for like 600 meters.
It's gonna be a new challenge for sure. It's exciting though. Like, are you excited? Because I just am excited. But again, it's like I don't want to discredit kind of like the trenches we had to fight through, like literally, because that barbed wire crawl had like a million trenches in it that we literally had to.
Super cool barbed wire though.
Yeah, it was actually kind of cool.
Loved it.
I hated it both times, so I don't know why you loved it, but I
loved it. It was cool.
I hated it.
It's pretty rad.
But yeah, I don't know. I just like a big part of me, like I feel a million different ways, but a big part of me is just really excited because it's just unlocked a lot of ideas that I haven't even been able to like sift through before. Like that was the weirdest thing. Like usually I have something next planned. I didn't really for this because I was like, again, I could walk away traumatized or I could walk away. That was really it. I just was like, I'm gonna be traumatized or I'm not. Like I was fully expecting to be like, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah. But it was honestly the best decision I've ever made.
Me too.
To do and commit to. And it's just kind of like helped me, forced me into this like, place where I'm like, bro, just do it. just
I'm
send
so
it.
fucking proud of you. I am.
I'm
I'm like
proud
so
of you
just
because-
so
Just
thanks.
because.
I'm just so proud of like our people, man. Like
Yeah, we're cool.
and even like also small shout out to Barry and Mac who had like breakthrough races this
Dude,
past
for
trifecta.
sure.
So while we were out running the ultra, just real quick before we leave, Mac and Barry made top 5. Barry made top 5 on Saturday. Mac made
So
top
cool.
5 on Sunday. And both of them, like Barry's coming back from a very long injury.
Yeah.
So it was the first time that he was able to put a red headband on and actually like run his race. He ran with a red headband on in West Palm, but I don't think it was necessarily like a good race for him because he wasn't able to run as fast or like, you know, from his injury. So he had a great race. He made the multi-rig both days.
That's been a process for him.
That's been an absolute struggle for him. So I'm super proud of him for that. And then Mac placed top 5, which, oh man, Matt, we're going to get this guy on the podium because he was so damn close. He had that race the whole beginning on Sunday, but that was a breakthrough race for him too, because I really think he like is getting to the point now where he can actually talk to his peers or in his age group. He's trying to find out who it is so he can be just even the littlest bit competitive because he's got a lot left. He's got a lot left in his tank. And I don't think that he's like tapped into that yet. Yeah. I think it was the first race for him too, where like mental clarity is kind of like what we're getting at with this whole thing. Like the ultra just gave us so much vision and like different ways of like being confident in ourselves to be able to push harder in every other race that we have. And I think the same thing goes for Mac and Barry. Like they both had breakthrough races this weekend. So shout out to them.
Yeah. It's like just exciting to feel like there's more.
Yep. And Rich and Denise, like everybody kicked ass. Like my heart is so full from that race. Seriously.
It really, like, again, that's why I texted Anthony midweek. I was like, I feel so good from this race, you know, just like it just, I was thinking on the way here, sorry, I don't want to keep this episode going for too long, but I was like, I'm very curious to know, like, this sounds pessimistic, but it's not, it's just a curious thought, like how we would be feeling if we didn't win. Well, you know, because I was just like, that to me was just like,
we weren't not going to win.
So it's just like
that's my thing though. Like I left the gym and a couple people were like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "I'm gonna fucking win. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking win." Yeah. Because I trained, like we trained our asses off. Yeah, like we trained so hard. We were so prepared. Mm-hmm. Like even the 4 girls that were behind me that I were with were over an hour behind me. Yeah. Like we were fucking prepared.
Ooh, but that's what's hard though. The fact that we just like we nailed it.
Mm-hmm. But listen, I mean, I got 4th out of like 40 something in my gender. I don't know what yours was. So like technically I got 1st in my age group, of course, but I still have like room to grow.
Yeah. So that's what it is though. It's like the goal we hit, we fucking hit it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm feeling convicted to more.
Yeah. So let's do it again. Like I'm in. Sign the waiver. I'm in. Let's go.
Whatever, dude. Looks like we have to, dude, every like, I don't know if there's any like experienced ultra runners on here, but they're probably like, these horses need to calm down. Like it's just funny how like a 50K is like short for ultra running. Like it's a short race.
Yeah. It's a shorter version of an ultra race. But
it's also ultra. It's like, ooh, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, thank you for filling in for Abigail.
Yeah, nobody.
Follow Alana on our socials. I'll tag her in everything that we have on Spotify and Apple Music and in YouTube and all of that shit. And if you guys are curious to where we're going next, like I said, we're going to Utah. And West Virginia
during Tracy's birthday.
Yeah, and yours is like
mine's a week before we leave, and then Tracy's. So it's a birthday trip for me, and then it's on Tracy's actual birthday. So we'll be turning up.
Yeah, so we'll be turning up.
Dude, I love Utah. Bring me
with
to
all
the
Mormons.
Mormon city. I've been like 4 times, and it's my favorite. You're gonna love it.
I'm excited.
Everybody's so weird there.
I'm excited. Weird like me. So that'll be good.
Not like you, they're Mormons.
Well, I mean, I'm in for weird people.
Just kidding.
So.
I love everybody.
But yeah, thanks for coming and joining us. I'm super excited that I didn't have to do this by myself. But go follow Alana and follow our journey because we got a lot left in us for the rest of the year, bitches.
Y'all stay tuned. I mean, because Abigail's gonna take over that jujitsu world,
bro.
But what's your running?
You guys don't even know the next couple episodes. Like, let me tell you something. We're taking over the fucking world.
Things are about to get crazy.
Things are about to get fucking nuts. Just giving you a little insight. We got a new studio.
Is this the last episode in this?
I think this might be the last episode in this weird hole.
About to get crazy.
It's about to get fucking crazy. We're about to take over the world. All right, y'all. We'll see you in the next one.
Hello.
Bye.